Hey, I don't know about you, but when I listen to young people talk about politics nowadays, I'm completely shocked to hear what narratives they believe to be true, as well as the fact that they believe that socialism is a viable alternative for America. And at first, I thought it was just a failure of our educational system, but I recently read an article in the Epoch Times, which, by the way, I believe is probably one of the last sources of real news in this country. And in this article, Josh Phillips talks about meme warfare. And up until then, I thought memes were just cute pictures of cats and stuff on the internet. But he talks about how governments and special interest groups have weaponized memes and use them to inject a society with an idea, allow that idea to spread, and then ultimately alter our very perception of reality. Hey Josh, tell him about it.
Right. So when a lot of us think of memes, what we think of are, funny pictures on the internet, these ideas that might capture and encapsulate a certain cultural idea into an image that we find funny, or we feel that, say, captures a cultural feeling of some kind. People spread it because they think it's funny, or they think it, spreads what they believe in. The concept of memes comes from memetics. Memetics was a concept, it's a theory. It was introduced by radical atheist Richard Dawkins, who I don't agree with, but I think for the sake of this we should talk about it. He described memetics as a theory of how ideas evolve over time to affect or impact the culture, right? How an idea is introduced into a society, how it evolves over time, and eventually alters the culture of that society. Memetic warfare uses that system, but does so intentionally. And so this is military groups, espionage groups, news outlets, political factions, you name it, both sides of the aisle, all over the world. Many groups do this. And so what they do is they look at how can we introduce an idea into that society? How can we control how that idea evolves over time? And how can we intentionally manipulate how it affects that culture in a way that benefits their own interests? This is memetic warfare. We saw this take place, just as an example, with the Trump-Russia collusion narrative. Special counsel Robert Mueller, or former special counsel now, declared that there was no evidence that Trump colluded with Russia. The entire thing was fabricated. There was no evidence. The evidence was the Steele dossier, which was opposition research financed by the Clinton campaign and the Democratic Party, right? The DNC. There was no evidence. People claim there was evidence. News outlets claimed there was evidence for 2 years. That was all fake. The entire thing was false. Now they're, of course, talking about whether or not there was obstruction, but there cannot be obstruction if there was no crime. But when it comes to ideas, right, the concept that Trump was acting on behalf of a foreign government, that is a meme. That is memetics. And the manipulation of how this idea introduced into our society and was intentionally manipulated to affect the culture, that is memetic warfare.
And if you're looking for real news, you need to check out the Epoch Times. It's one of the last sources of real news in all of America. It doesn't have any hidden agendas, and it doesn't spin the facts. Click that button below and you can get the newspaper delivered to your home for a full month for just $1. That way you can experience the joy of pure American journalism that's steeped in traditional values. Click that button below.